sister don't mind that I'm not on time. She knows that I'm through with that. Sick of trying. Don't let mine. Mama's still love and daddy's still love. They know that I'm here like that. Unlike mine, true and kind. Call me your side and I will now be, and I will be fine with that. You don't leave me now, you might love me back. Distance is fine, I know you can't care, and nothing is big like that. You don't see me now, I don't see you back. One day I'll be fine with that. One day I'll be fine with that. One day I'll be fine with that. You don't leave me now, do you love me back? Just to remind you I'm a mistake. How come you don't want to know? You don't want to see, you don't. Kicking myself, I know that you're tough. Yeah, we can pretend we're that. Gotta see how you gotta leave that. One day I'll be fine with that. One day I'll be fine with that. One day I'll be fine with that. You don't leave me now, do you love me back? Snow is outside your fire, I feel all the love you bring. You gotta see how we can see this out. Summer in mind and spring by your side, we see all the love we'll keep. Gotta see that we can be that. One day I'll be fine with that. One day I'll be fine with that. One day I'll be fine with that. You don't leave me now, do you love me back? You don't leave me now, do you love me back? You don't leave me now, do you love me back? You don't leave me now, do you love me back?
I did one flub, but I don't remember where.
Pace mine for you, hold my, hold every time the sun comes up, I'm in trouble. People say I'm a one-hit wonder, but what happens when I have to? I washed your dishes, but I shit in your bathroom. Even when the sun comes up, I'm in trouble. Even when the sun comes up, I'm in trouble. We broke your glasses, but covered our asses. Take time silently, feel real room high five. When every time the sun comes up, I'm in trouble. Every time the sun comes up, I'm in trouble. Yeah, every time the sun comes up, I'm in trouble. Imagine when every time the sun comes up, I see double.
Here she is.
Maybe something will change. Sorry, my headphones fell off.
I've worried since the age of 5. When my daddy dies, I'll fall into crime. 'Cause he'll be stuck in picture frames to witness whipping winds, a bitter change. Will you watch over my heart? He'll admit a woman who took me rather far out of view. In a way, I guess it's plain to see the devil bearing down on her, and I'm age 3. Will you watch over my heart? Hurry on back for spring. But oh, desert sky, I try not to look with my naked eye. When my daddy dies, all sins expire, and he'll be stuck in picture frames, hanging on the memories of the better days. Will you watch over my heart? Hurry on back for spring. But oh, in the desert sky, try not to look with my naked eye. Covered every inch of the seven seas. Oh, in the desert sky, stripped of fool's gold alibi, covered every inch of the seven seas. Nothing blooms from Joshua Tree. Naked eye, covered every inch of the seven seas. Feeling blue by Joshua Tree. This love's gone cold in a record heat.
Hello, everyone. So first of all, let me just say a few words on behalf of the Scripps College of Communication, along with the School of Many Arts and Studies and the OU Women in Music Industry student organization. Just want to welcome you today. We are live streaming today's event, so if you are joining us online, if you want to join us online, we are at mediaschool.ohio.edu for the live stream, and you can offer up questions in real time using the hashtag AskOUMDIA. And we'll leave some questions at the end of today for people to ask on either side here on the microphones. I'm going to read this so I don't forget who I want to thank. So first of all, just thanks to Scott Titsworth and the Scripps College of Communication for their generous support of the series. Thanks to Andy Traxel and the School of Music for allowing us to use this space, and for Kyle Snyder and his students for handling all the audio and video today. I also mentioned that later today from 2 to 3 p.m. in Schooner 450, we'll be hosting a Q&A session with Sharon's manager, Zeke Hutchins of Mick Management, and he'll be talking about the importance of artist management in today's music industry. So let me share a little bit about Sharon. So Sharon proudly hails from New Jersey and started her career with a move to Brooklyn, where she began to play in small public spaces and distribute her music through basically handmade CDRs in her website. After making a connection with some folks from TV on the radio, she was encouraged to pursue her music. And since then, it's been nothing but wonderful. So business, and secured an internship with Bada Bing Records, earning a role as a full-time publicist. So Sharon's first nationally released album was 2009's Because I Was in Love, followed up with a signing to the influential label Jag Jaguar in 2010. From there, she began collaborations with the likes of The National and Nick Cave, followed up with a brilliant album in 2012, which most of us know as Tramp. Sharon actually went on from there to release Are We There in 2014, earning some of the highest acclaim of her career. From there, EP, I Don't Want to Let You Down last year was followed by dates in Europe and Australia, as well as her first dates in South America. Sharon's had an awesome year so far, doing dates in New York with the likes of Kurt Weill and Kevin Shields to celebrate 30 years of Dennis Orr Jr., and just got back last month from headlining the Sweet 16 NPR Music Party in DC. So would you please join me in welcoming
Thank you.
Yeah. So just kind of like rattled through your biography a bit, but how did you first get involved with music? Like what really drew you to it? I mean, you come from a family of engineers, right? Or educators rather, and a father who's an engineer.
Yeah, my family loved music. I'm one of 5 kids, and my dad has his original vinyl from when he was a hippie in the 60s, and like grew up listening to rock and roll and folk music, and my parents took me to concerts and musicals, and my brothers were musicians, and my older sister was into alternative music, and I was in musicals and choir in high school, and I didn't know what it meant, but it felt really good, you know, like music does that thing where you don't things, and especially as a teenager, those emotions that you don't know how to communicate very well, you're like, yeah, they do that for me because I don't want to talk to anyone. And, you know, it turned into something else when I learned how to play guitar, and I just, you know, I didn't know what I was writing, and most of my lyrics were pretty naive at the time, but I knew it felt good to play and it felt good to sing, and it just grew into this crazy thing.
Yeah, so like, so you talked a little bit about choir. I've read in interviews where you've talked about how important that was to developing an ear for harmony and the way that multiple voices can work together. It's funny, like choir is usually seen as like an uncool thing, but it turned into a really important thing for your music.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows it's an outsider in high school that the music department is like where like the outsiders go, you know, like all the misfits, you know, it's like either the video area or like it's like the arts department, which, you know, unfortunately in most schools it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, but, you know, you get to be around kids that don't feel like they fit in either, and then you all work together to do something pretty cool, you know, if people actually care. And choir was that for me. Like, I didn't think I belonged anywhere, and then all of a sudden all us losers, you know, sang together, and we felt it was pretty cool as a kid, you know, hating everything.
Yeah.
So
So what were your like first band experiences like of just starting to get out and play either covers or original music?
Yeah, so it's funny because I was so shy that I didn't have a band until my 20s. I was really scared to sing with people, and I was self-taught and by ear, so I didn't really know how to read notes, or I didn't know chord progressions or keys, but I could sing along and I could memorize melodies and harmonies, and I was really intuitive in that way, but I was embarrassed of my knowledge, and so it took me a long time to get the courage to collaborate with other people. But as I got older, So I was solo until 2009, 2010. And then I had my bandmate Doug, who I've been playing with for about 6 years now. He kind of was like a suitor, but like in the music terminology, not like he was hitting on me, but he would come to my shows and just say, I really like your music. If you ever want to play, just let me know. And I was really, really shy, and I kept saying, oh, thanks, but I didn't know how to do that. I never had a practice space. Didn't know how to do that. I didn't have a guitar tuner. I didn't know how to tune to other people. I didn't know why it was important. And then finally, Doug kept pursuing me, and he was so sweet and so kind, and finally we played together, and he really changed the way that I played and helped me learn how to communicate with other musicians and not be embarrassed of my knowledge because we supported each other. Mm-hmm. And he's helped me really get it together.
So after high school, you actually went to a recording program, right, at MTSU?
I went there.
How'd that go?
I left.
Well, what drew you to that program or that route in the first place?
So my choir teacher knew that I was a little lost. It's like you're a senior in high school, and it's expected that you're supposed to know what to do, and that you know what you want for your future. And you're like, I just want to get out of the house, and I want to meet other people that aren't just in my hometown, and I want to grow, and I want to go. So a kid a year ahead of me that I was in choir with the year before went to, and he went for music production. He's actually he does light design for a couple bands out there now. He's still doing it, which is pretty cool. But I went down there to pursue the recording industry there because it was like one of the top schools for the recording industry in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And Jersey Girl going to Tennessee is kind of a sitcom waiting to happen, And I learned a lot about music down there. But after a year, I just knew my heart wasn't in it. Mm-hmm. And it was the style that they had at the time was very formulaic. And like, this is how you write a song. Like, well, I don't know. Like, I write songs already. I think they're all right. Like, I think I have that part down. And then the more people I knew that got through that specific program, it was a very mix of what they got out of it, and I wasn't ready. So I stopped going, and I got a job at a venue, and then I learned how to book and promote shows and do crappy sound, and a lot of my education for the indie rock bands that were happening from like 99 until about 2003, 2004, like Azure Ray, Cat Power, Songs Ohio, Cursive, At the Drive-In, stuff like that. I got to see at like 100 capacity coffee shop. So that's pretty cool as a teenager, early 20s, something. And that was a form of education. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so looking back, like education-wise, what do you feel like you just got out of that experience of booking and being with those bands? What were some of the lessons you took away from that? That
I'm not an organized person, and that that it was really good to know, but how hard touring is. Mm-hmm. Before I wasn't really playing music out at the time. I did open mics here and there, but that was more of an education of how hard it is on the road. I mean, Murfreesboro isn't really close to that much. You're 30, 40 minutes from Nashville, but then it's going to be like a 6-hour drive to Georgia. And, and Tennessee is really long. I don't know if you've driven across country before, but it takes a really long time. And gas is really expensive. And hotels, if you go to the affordable ones, like you can get terrible rashes. And what people do because they love it, like you have to remind yourself that you love it. And you saw all different kinds of bands and different kinds of psychological states that were like, they hated each other, they loved each other. I mean, it can bring you together and it can drive you apart. And I saw that on a very small scale, and that was very important when I started booking my own shows. Like, I knew what to expect. Mm-hmm.
So you made the move to Brooklyn. What was that transition like, basically branching out to really start kind of your career as a performer and a songwriter?
That was a funny time because I had moved back home for a while, living with my parents for a year to save up money to go.
Total rock star move, right?
Oh yeah, I was pretty rock and roll. But it was a good time to reconnect with my family and take baby steps because I had never lived in a city before, and New York's overwhelming. It's a big city. And I had no idea what I was going there for. I love music. I didn't know how it was going to go, but I knew that if I was going to go, I had to have money saved. I always tell people, save your money, because it's more expensive than you think it is. And it's very large, and it takes a while to find a place to live. But I had a job when I went there, and my first job there was at Astor Wines, which is the biggest wine store in Manhattan. And I lucked out with an apartment that I found through Craigslist and commuted from Brooklyn to Manhattan to work. And for that I was very lucky to find a job that quick and an apartment that quick. But $800 a month was very expensive for me, and that's what the rent was like. But outside of that, you see all these people that work really hard to stay motivated because you're there for a reason. People don't move to New York to goof off, you go there because there's something you want to accomplish or something you want to learn, and you're surrounded by people that are working their asses off. And I think that's important to keep your motivation for a city that can be really stressful to live in.
So talk about some of those early supporters, like you mentioned TV on the radio and introducing you. How were they helpful in kind of motivating you to get started and to get your name out?
Well, I remember when I first met Kip Malone, and I didn't even know what his band was, but I went to go see another band called Celebration at Bowery Ballroom, and I went by myself, and I was super shy. I'm just very, I get social anxiety, so that's another experiment moving to New York, is how do you deal with that? But he was opening the show, and when I saw him, I realized that it was the brother of this kid I went to high school with, and his little brother was the first person to make me perform in front of people. And I played at the Amnesty International benefit when I was in high school, and that was the first time I'd ever played in front of people. And so I just thought it was kind of like a fortuitous event where randomly I'm reintroduced to someone in his family, and he's performing at a show in New York, one of the first places I went when I moved back. So I just introduced myself really quick after he played, and he asked what I was doing in New York, and I said, I don't really know, but I play music and I'm just figuring it out. And he's like, I'd love to hear you sometime. And I had a handmade CDR in my bag, and I gave it to him. And he liked it and wrote me back weeks later and started telling me about venues that I should check out and bands that I should listen to, and just telling me about the neighborhood that he hung out in, which, back then, it was 10, 11 years ago, Williamsburg was just starting to have the crazy boom that it's had. And it's now very different. But back then, it was the Wild West. It was desolate, it was kind of sketchy, and venues were very DIY, feet falling through the floor, roaches crawling out of soundboards. It was pretty exciting.
So he kind of gave you some impetus to start branching out a bit. So how did some of the folks from the National start getting involved with you?
Well, let's see, in the timeline of SVE, so I when I moved back to New York, I reconnected with a couple of old friends that I had met in Tennessee. One that graduated from MTSU, and she had gotten a job at a record label in New York, and we were catching up, and I was telling her where I was working and the kind of music that I was working on, and I would always send her demos along the way of I'm doing stuff, I just don't know why yet. And I told her that I was trying to figure out how the music, how a record label worked, and I was self-releasing stuff and wondering how I could make it more productive. And she said that she was looking for an intern at the label, and I started an internship. And
This is Bada Bing.
this is at Bada Bing, and it was right around the time where Beirut was really like they just got their first real single out there and stuff, and it was blowing up, and they needed help because they weren't prepared for that either. So that was in about 2004, 2005, maybe 2005. And so around that time, I was helping with that, and Ben Goldberg, who runs Bada Bing Records, he was educating me on this. Like, he was working out of his apartment, you know, like he would show up in his pajamas sometimes, and around that time is when he sent me a link of Bon Iver covering one of my songs with the I was really tired. It was like the end of 2012. We had toured for most of that year, and I had just promised everybody that missed me at home. I was like, don't worry, this is my last tour. I'm going to take a break as soon as I get home. I have at least 3 months where I can chill out. And we're at the airport about to fly to England. And my booking agent calls me and says, hey, Sharon, I know that you want to be off March, April, but Nick Cave just asked if you'd open up a tour. I didn't really have to think twice, but I had to laugh. It's like, they say, like, how do you make God laugh? Make a plan, And it's just like, you just have to take those opportunities and take chances, And because as an opener, it's harder to bring a full band. I could only go as a duo. But I brought my drummer, Zeke, with me, who is also, like, really good at tour managing. And again, I emphasize my disorganization, and you have to be able to acknowledge those weaknesses, especially in business when you're like, I don't know how to do that, so I need to hire someone that knows how to do that, so I'm not a complete mess all the time. And so just the two of us opened up for him. And he also asked me to do some backup singing on that tour, which turned into like being a full-time backup singer as well as opening the show. And he was a complete gentleman, and he taught me a lot on that tour.
Well, it's one of the things I love about your story. It's like you, at every step of the way, you had all these amazing mentors that you were collaborating with, but also really wanted to impart something to you. Like, share a little bit about, last time we were talking about some of the songwriting kind of just wisdom he was passing on to you as you were spending time together with him.
Yeah, so Nick Cave is a gentleman. People are scared of him. They think he's an intense monster, and I'm sure there's that side of him, definitely in his music, but he treated us with dignity and respect, and he really rolled out the red carpet for us, like put our gear on his bus, loaded it out every day. Their sound guy did our sound, and the first night he took us out to dinner after like our first show just to welcome us to the tour and thank us for doing it. I mean, this guy, he's top notch. So the last night of tour, he took us out for a farewell thank you. Mm-hmm. And he, I just straight out asked him, I said, with having a family, doing scores, touring, making records fairly regularly, how do you find the time to write? How do you do that? And he just said, you have to. It's your job. You go to work. You may have a terrible day. You may not make anything, but to have some kind of structure, you go in there and you play and you write and you push yourself. It's like you're gonna have a sucky day at work. It's gonna happen. But you go to work. You go to work, you create something, even if nobody ever hears it because you're constantly honing your craft. And coming from Nick Cave, I'm taking that seriously, like he goes to work. I mean, you can Google, he has a video as well where like he does an interview where he's talking about his office. And you make it however you need to be able to create and be productive. You can have books, read, write, play, whatever, but be surrounded by things that inspire you so that you're able to work. Mm-hmm. And I'm still creating that space.
Yeah, so how's that translated into your work life? Because like you're scoring a film right now, and you've scored films, and you've had a lot of touring and a lot of album releases. How do you manage that?
Well, I'm trying to be. I'll never be as prolific, but I'm learning how to have structure. Mm-hmm. But I haven't been home to have structure. Tour was my structure, and this is the first break that I've had since 2010. So now that I have a place to live again, and I just got my first studio that I'm still building and working on to feel not like a basement. But, you know, I'm slowly moving things in there, like having a dresser, a table. I put wallpaper up. It's so girly. And I have curtains over the window that looks out at the AC unit. I mean, things that just help me feel like I'm just in a workspace. And I just have the instruments set up so that they're constantly set up whatever mood I'm in. Do I want to be a drummer today? Do I want to play guitar today? Do I want to play piano today? Do I want to play ugly, distorted organ? I don't know. Whatever. I can do it. And you just create that space where you can do anything. I also scheduled school around it, so I have 2 full school days where, like, I have 3 classes on a Tuesday and a Thursday, which makes me go Monday, Wednesday, Friday to the space to work. And the more I schedule things like that, where if you have specific things to help define structure, because it's hard to just say I'm going to sit down and write because you're on your own schedule. It's hard to create your own schedule, especially if you're a creative person when you're all over the place all the time. But a little bit of structure gives you some means to free your mind in one day and then have the urge to do it even more because your schedule is dictating that thing.
So as you look back, I don't know, 8 years or so, how, for you, has the music industry really changed in terms of kind of coming into it, navigating it, and now, you know, just coming off of a very successful album and a follow-up EP, probably the most critically acclaimed, and just in terms of just appeal to people and really getting your name out. How do you look back now? Like, what has changed the most for you in the music industry?
I think, lucky for me, it hasn't changed that much because it's kind of stayed the same. I mean, streaming, I'm still learning what that means for my music, but my fans are pretty mixed, where I sell, you know, I have streaming, there's digital, there's CDs sell still, and there's record sales. And it's all pretty balanced out because I feel like I have a really diverse fan base. But then I see younger bands come out where they sell a lot of tickets. Like, they'll sell out like a 3,000 capacity venue, but not sell records. I mean, that blows my mind, you know? But I play 800 capacity venues, and, like, you know, I might sell like 100 records in a show. I'm being nice to myself. Yeah. But, you know, it's like, but those bands that can sell out, like these big young pop bands, who I like a lot of them, they don't sell records like that. You know, but it can be reversed too, where like they're not selling any tickets at a live show, but they're selling a lot of singles. And singles are back, which is blowing my mind, which is pretty cool, you know, which will probably help the record industry too, with 7 inches and actually selling songs, because some people don't put those singles on Spotify. But I'm still learning what that means, because, again, like I said, my fan base is pretty mixed, so I don't really know what it means for me, but I see it affecting a lot of peers around me for sure.
How, like, so when Jack Jaguar came on board, what were some of the biggest things they offered just in terms of having that kind of label support? Like, what did you notice immediately was much different for you?
It was a partnership. I liked the idea that, like, we shared everything, the gains, the losses. I mean, they also really listened to my ideas, and they never told me no. You know, they gave me criticism, they gave me ideas, but at the end of the day, they wanted me to be able to express myself as an artist, and they respect what I do, so they wouldn't want to infringe on that. Mm-hmm. But they're very smart people that love music, that are trying to figure out how to make it work in this industry. It's not easy. And, you know, I can call Darius at any hour and say hi or ask a question. And, you know, Zeke talks to him on a regular basis for business-related things, and it's always very fair. Mm-hmm. You know, I like the idea of a partnership because you know that you're in it together.
Mm-hmm. So maybe on that note, talk a little bit about the role that, like, licensing your music has played, because I know that you've had some really great placements for your music. I remember when Serpents was used on The Walking Dead, and you know, they were putting out like the mixtapes based around those seasons, and everyone was like really excited, and it blew up on social media. How has that benefited you as an artist? Like, have you seen the benefits of that?
My music has reached people that it never would have reached before. I mean, I didn't know that crazy goth kids that like to kill zombies like my music. I mean, yeah, it's great. It opens up a whole other door. But, it just, like, as I'm learning as I get older, as I'm meeting more people, as I'm experiencing new things, it's like you have to just take chances. And, it's funny. It's like one of the very few aggressive songs that I have that Aaron made me record. I wasn't even gonna do that song, and that has helped me out a lot. And that exposed me to different regions of the world where people watch that show that don't have bands come tour. Like Eastern Europe is really hard to get to, and that Walking Dead is huge over there. It's just an example, but I don't say yes to everything either, because I think that the things that you agree to do also sum up who you are, and that's how people perceive you, and that is going to follow you wherever you go. So for me personally, I don't say yes to everything. Like, I don't think I could be in a tampon commercial. I don't think I would say yes to that. But there are certain things where it's like I got asked to do a song for the Tig Notaro documentary, and I think that was really important. Sometimes, most of the time there isn't that much money in licensing, but it's more about what you're associating yourself with. And also the things that you believe in, that is going to be part of your biography. So you should think about that before you agree to anything.
It seems too like in the music industry, it's really important to have advocates that are critics and are kind of curating music for fans. And it seems like you've had some pretty significant ones, like NPR Music, for example. So Bob Boilen has been a big champion in your music, others. And I saw when you did that show last month, they were just gushing about how they've just always been such huge fans of your music. Talk a little bit about that relationship as an artist, knowing that you have people like that are really kind of going to bat for you in the press and beyond.
Well, it always means a lot when people that you respect that are a part of your normal life outside of your music support you or whatever it is you're doing. It's like even, when my mom said that she liked a song of mine, just along the way, those baby steps of people kind of encouraging you. Like when I first heard Bon Iver and the National covering on one of my songs, that meant a lot to me, like that. It kind of, I don't want to say validates, because that's not the right word, because you doing what you want to do is validated because you want to do it and you care about it. But when other people support that, then you feel like your conviction even more that you're doing the right thing. And NPR has been really supportive. I mean, they played my burnt CDR, to start. Just as, my station in Jersey is WFMU, and Jeffrey Davison has a show called Shrunken Planet Saturday mornings. And he was the first person to ever play one of my songs on the radio. And, as just starting out, to have your local station play your music, that is pretty crazy. My dad texting me on his way to work saying that he heard a song of mine. I mean, it's relevant. And it's part of your daily life that changes, I was going to say something else and I forgot. But I think it's the people that you meet along the way that support you, just don't forget them, because that defines where you started from, and it also helps where you grow.
So you had, after Tramp, can you talk a little bit about the process of going into the last full-length you released, kind of what you had learned from working with Aaron and others, and what you wanted to accomplish with that album?
So in the making of Tramp, it was me and Aaron mostly in the studio, in his home studio, fleshing out these demos, me learning how to communicate ideas to other musicians that have been doing it for a lot longer than me. But they cared about my songs, and they were really patient with my vocabulary. And even when I would just make noises, I'd be like, it kind of sounds like, and they would somehow get it. And that encouraged me to talk weirder and made some weirder sounds. And off kilter to the left kind of beats and stuff, and they got that. I don't like the center. And thank goodness most of the musicians that came to that studio got that, So making that record with Aaron gave me the confidence to get a band together. And after making Tramp is when I had my first real band, and it was Doug Keith who helped me get it together, and he introduced me to Zeke Hutchins, and Aaron introduced me to Heather Woods Broderick. And we were a 4-piece for a few years, and we fleshed the songs out together. And as we were touring, I was writing a lot, and I was in a tumultuous relationship, which made me write even more and more intensely, and toured even more to avoid that. And along the way, I got asked to do a duet with Rufus Wainwright for a Starbucks compilation. And I love Rufus Wainwright. I think his melodies are insanely they're so beautiful and so complex. And think of, I love musicals too, so whatever, if you've ever seen Judy Garland's, when he dresses up in drag and sings all these Judy Garland covers, it's one of the most amazing things, I promise you. Even if you don't like musicals, it's incredible. But I got to meet him, and I thought maybe I would show up and I was just singing to a track. But I show up and we're singing face to face, I'm actually doing this with him. And I didn't pee my pants, but I was close. And because I didn't, Stuart Lerman, who was recording that song, it left an impression because I apparently played my cool. I don't think I did, but he said I did. And he ended up asking me to sing a song for the Boardwalk Empire soundtrack, which he does all the music for that show. And I loved his encouragement so much, because when I showed up to do a song for Boardwalk Empire, I'm walking into this crazy studio. It's called Avatar Studios in New York City. And it is wild. It is I walk into this beautiful room, similar to the ceiling, the acoustics are insane. And there's a full orchestra waiting for me. I lost my mind. And I was kind of popping my head and am I in the right place? What's happening? And the song was a little high for me, but I pretended I was cool. I was fine. And Stuart was just so encouraging. He asked me to sing it 4 or 5 times, and then he was like, "We got it." We got it? He's like, "You're great, that's fine." He's just so positive, so comforting. I felt at home. And I know that I was the odd man out for sure, but he was so patient with me. And right after that, it was when I started thinking about recording a record and looking for a studio in New York. And I was talking to Zeke about it. Zeke was managing me at the time and helping me make some decisions with the songs and talking about orchestration and what the lineup was going to be. And I got the courage to reach out to Stuart because I had such a great experience working with him and he's been in New York working at a studio since the 70s. He worked with Patti Smith, he's worked with the Roaches, but he also has an ear for pop songs and for commercial music. So for someone that's been in the industry that long, his opinion meant a lot to me. So on that fateful day, he met me for lunch, and I told him that I have my band already, I have the songs already, I just want to work in a space where I can feel comfortable and at ease, because I'm not a tech person, I'm not a gear person, I just want to know how to be comfortable around people that I don't know, and I want to produce it myself, I know what I want already, I just want someone to hold my hand. So he showed me around to 4 or 5 studios, and the last one we looked at was his, and it was my favorite one, and it was in Jersey, and it felt like you're at your grandma's beach house. You literally walk in, it just feels like your living room, and you just have your coffee, you have your snacks, and then you get to work, and there's nothing around you to be distracted. And I brought, the core of the album was my band. And I brought in David Hartley from the War on Drugs because he played bass on Epic and he had time off. And he came in as the bass player, and it was me, Zeke, and Dave as the core of it. And then Doug and Heather do their own music and tour with they have their own acts as well as tour with other people. So I waited until they had free time to come in and help me fill out the spaces. And then we just invited our friends to hang out because we missed them because we're locked in this little world for a while. And we came up with this record. And it was the most fun I've ever had in the studio because it's just like a lock-in with all your friends, making things.
And the EP was basically just songs that didn't quite make the initial collection, right? For the LP.
Because we ended up recording like over 20 songs, and I didn't want to do a double record because I always just feel like that's overwhelming to people because the new record is just hard to take in already, where people are expecting something already that it's supposed to be this, you know, they know your last record if they're getting this record usually, so then that expectation is so high. I didn't want to overwhelm people with too many songs. And it was hard to pick from because, you know, but you had to rule some out because you're like, I can't have 4 piano ballads on the record. You know, like there's that psychology to sequencing and making sure that all the songs make sense together. You know, it's kind of like Jenga, and you're like, if I take out this song, then it doesn't feel right, you know? And if you don't start with this song, then it can't even be on the record at all. It's a starter song, you know? It's sequencing is really intense.
Yeah.
So the EP was songs that didn't make the record, but it's not because they're like fluff. I still believe in all those songs. It just would have been too long.
So along with working on songs right now, talk a little bit about the film work that you're doing, the score you're working on right now on that film.
Yeah, this is a little nerve-wracking. It's the first score I've ever done. Like I know the process of like what writing a song is, but a score is very different. So this woman, Catherine Diekman, she started off doing music videos for REM and stuff. And she has a few low-budget indie movies out. And she's just a music fan. She's she teaches writing at Columbia. She is married, has 2 kids, used to be a music writer for Rolling Stone. Back when Rolling Stone was like this big. And she's just really patient, really cool. She's holding my hand through this whole process. She knows I haven't done it before. And I send her ideas all the time. She just finished the final cut of this movie. And it's a heavy, heavy, heavy movie, which is, you know, right up my alley. And, but, you know, it's funny as I'm finding that I'm trying to write these instrumental tracks, and I find that I want to sing. So I've talked to a few of my friends that do soundtrack work and scoring, and I actually called Stuart about it, and he said, "Oh, you're singing? That's funny. Think about your voice as that's what another instrument will be singing then, because if it doesn't call for words or vocals, because that can be distracting in a scene, then why don't you think of that, what you're hearing, as just another instrument coming in?" So I'm getting advice from people that have more experience from it, but I'm basing their opinions on where I already am in the process. But I'm about to score it live for the first time, just for me, watching the movie and playing to that, which is how she wants me to do it. And her reference was Paris, Texas, which is a tall order because Ry Cooder's soundtrack is pretty incredible. I won't be able to do that, but it's a good starting point.
Yeah. So along with that, you've been involved with a lot of tribute albums, so like the Donovan tribute album, Karen Dalton, and others. Like, where have your influences come from? Like, what has kind of played the most into your sound? Because I think the Sharon Van Etten sound is definitely a benchmark. Like, you can reference that as a sound.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I have people all the time that will say, like, that sounds like a Sharon Van Etten song. Like, there's a very kind of unique space for that. So as that's been put together, like, where do you feel like what influences have kind of made that?
That's funny. I don't even know. I like so many things. Every little chapter of my life, I've had a phase. You know, we all have phases. I'll say the first embarrassing one first. I had a Bare Naked Ladies CD in high school.
It's totally obvious.
I had a Mephistopheles album. I liked the Murmurs and Frente, and They Might Be Giants. And, you know, I'll say like all the things that people don't say first. But you know, obviously what your family listens to, that was a huge influence. So my dad, he was an old stoner guy, and he listened to the Kinks, the Rolling Stones, Jethro Tull, Bob Dylan, Neil Young. I mean, that was huge to me, and they still, like, we listen to them all the time. And my mom loves opera and folk music and country music, and she got me into Lucinda Williams and Mary Chapin Carpenter. Total influences in my life. I love that my mom got me into Lucinda Williams. That's pretty badass. But we're going to see the Carole King musical on Sunday for our birthdays, which I'm really excited about. My siblings are all over the place too. They were fish heads. They like jam bands. They got me into some jazz, and they got me into like my little brother got me into Herbie Hancock. That's pretty cool. Like he was 12 years old playing the drums left-handed and could replicate the Headhunters record. That's pretty cool. My older sister was into alternative music, got me into Nirvana and Weezer and Ween and Juliana Hatfield and the Lemonheads. And my little sister was into pop music. And she, you know, she was into like Salt and Peppa and TLC and you know, like I said, I'm one of 5 kids. I'm like a schizophrenic music personality. I like a lot of music, and I've learned how to appreciate it all. And I was, you know, when I moved to Tennessee, I got into punk rock and emo, and I was into Jimmy Eat World, and what else was I? Okay, Jimmy Eat World, At the Drive-In, Cursive, and like I said, Azure. Jeff Buckley. I love melodies so much. Melodies are so important to me. And my favorite kinds of songs like have melodies that build and grow and change. And
yeah, so I gotta back up to something. So you have to tell the story of going to the Fish Music Festival.
oh no, I've gotten in so much trouble for this. Well, I'll just say that I appreciate what Fish does. I don't know if I want to go there. My family were very big Fish heads, and it has brought them so much happiness. And I almost died at a Fish festival the one time I tried to go to show my love for them, for my family. It wasn't Fish's fault.
Straight, well, you have to mention the ice structure under the tree.
Do I really? There is a crazy okay, so this was in 1999. I didn't know any better anyway, and neither did they. And it was in Big Cypress in like the most southern part of Florida on New Year's Eve. And I had the choice of staying in Tennessee where nobody was there, or going home to my parents' house, or accepting this ticket that my brother had gotten me for Christmas. So I said, whatever, I'll go. I'll have some fun. I don't have to listen to music. And so my brother and I are walking around, and we're like having a really good time. And I'm drinking water. I'm doing everything you're supposed to do at a festival. And, you know, you have your sunblock, you're drinking your water. And I realize that I'm starting to swell. And I have these bracelets on. They didn't glow in the dark. Actually, they were shoelaces. I thought it was pretty cool. Whenever my shoelaces broke, I would tie them around my wrist because I was hardcore, you know. I think I had like a shaved head and I was wearing a U2 shirt or something and like just like dyed hair and like, you know, it was funny. It's a funny visual in my mind. But I said, hey, Steve, is the sun playing tricks on me or am I swelling? And he started freaking out because I was swelling. I was swelling past my shoelaces. And I felt like my organs were liquefying. He ran me over to the tent where we were staying. He's pouring water all over me. My sister saw me. She's freaking out. They're pouring water all over me. And then Fish starts playing. And they leave me there. I was like, if this is what Fish does to my family, then I'm sorry. I will not support this. And I never went to a Fish show again. And again, not Fish's fault, but that is forever ingrained in my mind where I thought I was going to die at a Fish festival. Nobody's fault. Is that what you wanted to hear?
Yeah. We have some time for some questions if some people want to make their way up to the microphones here. So I know a lot of students overall just would take any advice from you about as they enter into this season of their own careers. Like, what would you put forward, given your journey and what you've experienced and learned?
Well, I guess number one, I always just say, be yourself. And if you're ever around people that aren't supporting who you are and what you're doing or understand your ideas, you don't need to work with them or be around them. I mean, it's okay to be challenged, and I think that you should be open to criticism and people that have different ideas from you. But if you're surrounding yourself with naysayers, that's not going to make you feel good about what you're doing, and it's going to make you question who you are. And I don't really have, like, I want to tell you, like, I don't really have answers. Like, I don't know. But for me, I've learned to, coming into my own is, like, growing up is just learning who you are. But that's knowing what you don't like, mostly. It's like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that either. And you kind of, like, you know, you kind of weed all that stuff away and you realize what you like to do, what you want to do, and you surround yourself with people that understand you. I think that's number one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
So I'm a senior, and I'm about to graduate with an artist management degree. And something that I'm kind of struggling with right now is whether or not when I graduate, I should just go full bore into the management thing, or if I should kind of take whatever opportunity is given to me and kind of flesh out every part of the industry that I can be involved in. And I know you've been involved in everything from, you know, booking to publicity to singing now and everything. So I just was wondering how important you think it is to focus on your niche or get involved with as many things as you possibly can.
Okay, so, and this is just my opinion based on my experience. This isn't fact, okay? But I learned a lot from my internship, number one. I worked at a label that I knew the music that I liked. And I didn't know what side of it that I would be interested in, but I went in there knowing I like what this person does. So if you're going into management and you're thinking about going to intern or whatever, find a job somewhere, be open to different sides of it, because you're just like any job, you work your way up. Like, you have to do shit work in order to go up that ladder, but it's for a reason. It's to learn the nitty-gritty and the mundane things, because they exist even in the fun entertainment world. I mean, it can be exhausting and a lot of paperwork, but getting an internship was important to me. I learned from the inside, you know, bottom up, what it takes. And I think on a smaller scale it's important, and then, you know, you grow with that. But if you're going to take any kind of job or internship, make sure it's with something that you're interested in, and not just because it's management, and not just because it's music, because there's a lot of music that sucks. There's a lot of companies that aren't run well.
Right.
But if you find a place where you respect the person that you're working with, or you care about what they're doing, I mean, that's number one. Just so when it's hard, at least you know that you respect who you're working with and what it's for.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry for my language. I talk like I'm 15 sometimes.
They must want to make their way down. So let me just piggyback off of that. So when you were in school for that year, was there anything from that period of time that you took that you found later? At the time, it didn't seem like it meant much, but later it was like, oh, this really kind of applies now, or you felt like
there was a lot of
valuable later?
friendships that I made. I feel like when you first leave home, you don't know who you are. You know, just having the courage to leave home, I think, is a big deal. And you know, like I think a lot of, like most people don't know what they want to do or who they are or what they want to be. And being around a lot of people that felt the same way was really comforting. And I have 3 really great friends that I'm still in touch with, still talk to regularly, that I met back then, that are still doing very similar things to what they were doing then. And they're still very much the same person that they were then, they are now. And that's comforting too, from a place where you think that you'll never talk to someone again because you move and you realize that you're tied to that person for a really long time. And that was a really pivotal time. You know, you're a teenager leaving home and you're lost in Tennessee and you find people that actually understand you. You're not a total freakazoid.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi.
I'm Brian. Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to ask you. Well, first off, you seem really approachable and cool, so I'm very glad about that. I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about getting older? As maturing. Like, I mean, like, do you feel like as you mature, like, do you feel like the pressure to change or to slow down or to yeah, that.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
My dad has this funny joke where he's like, you know, I don't feel old. Like, I feel like I'm 17 until I stand up, and then he kind of trails off. But it's funny. Like, I'll be 35 this next week, and I think as a woman you have to think about that. I got to do an interview with one of my favorite people. Do you know the band Low?
Yeah.
So Mimi is one of my favorite singers and drummers, and just really, really a thoughtful person. And she's one of my role models because she is married, has children, and has a career. You know, but I think one thing that I'm still learning how to balance is, I want a family and I want a career, and women have to think about that more. I mean, most of my friends in the music industry that are in bands are men, so they can have a family and tour as much as they want. They miss their kids. They're not bad fathers. You know, they fly them out when they can, or they go home in between, and they figure that out. But for a woman, it's harder. It's like, I don't want to breastfeed in the van, you know? Like, oh, I freak my band out enough, you know? But I think about that as a possibility, you know? So growing older, I want to do that thing, but I'm not going to let go of my career for it. And I'm surrounded by people that support me and to figure that out. And I get tired, and I can't tour like I'm 18 anymore. Like, touring for 2 months straight without seeing family, like, I can't handle that psychologically anymore. And I don't want my friendships to fall by the wayside. So you learn how to do touring more humanely, where you're like, I know that I can't tour more than 3 weeks in a row and feel good physically and emotionally. It's a hard thing to do. It's a lot. But as a kid, you don't think about it. You're like, I want to play as much as I can. I'm going to say yes to everything. And then as you get older, you refine. As far as my health, like, I feel great, and I'm writing, and I have time off, and I'm working from home, and I'm still doing music. But now I can be available to my friends and my family and have material to write about that's not just, you know, looking back on the past tours that I've had. You know, if I didn't get off the road, I'd only be writing about the van and my band, which they're very interesting people, but that will get really boring after a while.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, thanks for talking to us. I wanted to know more about your time at Bada Bing Records. First of all, did you like doing publicity? What did you learn while you were there? And from your perspective as an artist, what do you think makes a good publicity person?
Okay, well, I'll preface this by saying I was a terrible publicist. But I learned that I didn't want to do it. And I learned how hard it is to get people to listen to records. And how inundated writers are with receiving albums to review. And how to make it special. And how to be specific in approaching writers and why they should listen to it. I learned about blogs because 10, 11 years ago, it was still very new, and I didn't know what they were or what they meant to people. I didn't know how to do that stuff. I wasn't internet savvy, you know. I mean, I think the younger generation now, you're very lucky to know the internet world and how people find music, because I was on the cusp. So in the 90s, I had both cassettes and CDs. I had one of those CD players where you could program what tracks you listened to. So like I had the Smashing Pumpkins double CD that you could program just the odd numbers and over again. But anyway, sorry, besides the point, times have changed. And you know, I've met people that never heard Dylan before. And I've met people that know every single song on the radio. And I'm not good at that. But I think knowing that you need to be up on the music, knowing how to check in on it every day, knowing specifically which writers care about what kind of music, but also not just writing anybody, really finding the writers that you think are good so you know how to approach them when you have a release that you want to be direct to them about. And making phone calls and not emailing all the time, because the old school writers that still have print, they prefer talking to people. But also I learned that you should listen to every single demo that a label gets, because you'll see like the presentation, how it affects you and how you listen to it and what you cast aside versus what people listen to. But you can find a diamond in the rough that are trying too hard, and you'll see all different sides of that too. And organization is very important. Again, I'll say I was never organized. But, you know, learn Excel, learn how to follow up, and answer your phone, and ask questions. If you don't know, ask, because it's better than like faking it.
Great, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, hi Sharon. At the end of
Hi.
at the end of Are We There, the last track, every time the sun comes up, there's this like awesome fade out, and then it kind of comes back in, and then it's like you guys laughing in the studio, and it sounded like your like headphones fell off or something. So I was wondering if you could talk about that moment in the studio and like what the heck was going on, because like throughout the album it kind of goes from track to track, and there's never a moment like that until the end where it zooms out and it's like, here we are in the studio having a good time, which is great because that track is like super sad.
Well, I guess on every record I try to have a little bit of humor, you know, I guess sneak a little bit of humor in there, because I know how heavy my songs are. I know that they're not all uplifting and overtly, you know, to sing them they're a relief for me, but I know that I can't sing them with a smile on my face all the time. But even like amidst those heavy songs and the writing and recording process, like I said, hanging out with my friends, my band, and everybody that was involved in making that record, we were having a lot of fun. Like I would be laughing in between doing really serious takes sometimes. And when Heather got to come back, because she's based in Portland, Oregon, we had a late night where that last song almost didn't make the record because I just thought it was a throwaway. I had all these other songs that were finished, like written, and everybody just thought that it was a really great melody. You know, my joke was I'm writing a Bruce Springsteen song. Like, it had that kind of melody to me, but I only had the chord progression and the melody. And so Stuart had to go, like, he did commercial work and stuff. So every now and then he'd be called out for like an hour or two just to like finish something up. And his engineer, James Frazee, who's amazing, he does a lot of really great work in his own right. He just took over for a little while, and Stuart was like, "You guys work on that song. I'm convinced that song is going to be great." So he's like, "Make it great." And we took a little break. We talked about it. We had some drinks or whatever, and and the band was just convinced me. They're like, "We'll record it just as a band." And they're like, "But we just need you to sing." Like, I just sang in the control room so they could feel it, But they're like, "We'll just use that as a scratch track. And then you can re-record the vocals later. But at least while everybody's here, you can work on lyrics and we'll get all, when we're not here, you can do the vocals later." But I was like, we got a little drunk. And we broke a couple things, and I literally was just freestyling, thinking that those lyrics wouldn't last forever, and so that's where that last song comes from. But then it was that same night where Heather and I were like working on backing vocals, and she could, like, we had we sing together, we listen to each other, we feel each other's energy. We have to look at each other and be able to feel that to sing together. I think people that rely on each other's harmonies, like, you need that for build or whatever. And we could only do it if we shared a set of headphones. So like we're both like sharing headphones like this, like next to each other. And like, I think she almost fell over or something, and like the headphones just completely fell off, and you just hear like, I think before the edit, you actually hear a thump or whatever, and she like hits her head or something, and we're just cracking up, and Stuart was like, "What happened?" She's like, "My headphones fell off." And they did. I mean, that was just an outtake from the song "Nothing Will Change," us trying to do like backup vocals together as that we're all right in the midst of all this heaviness.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, Sharon. Thank you for being with us. When you're writing lyrics that are deep or heavy or might have some like personal context, how do you find yourself trying to adjust to make sure that they can appeal to a broad audience or be openly received by a broad audience? And how do you go about doing that in the writing process?
It's very difficult to know how to draw the line and what's too personal. My style of writing is whenever I'm feeling something really heavy, like my writing is my therapy, and I'll lock myself in a room and play guitar and sing, just hit record and get it out, and most of it is for me. It's usually when there's an idea or like a melody that I think when they combine together, or I feel like people will take something away from it that I share. Most of the song, I don't even want to call them songs, because they're usually these 12 amorphous ideas, like 12-minute amorphous like meanderings, just to get something out of me, because I don't always know how to express myself. Sometimes those 12-minute pieces I'll listen to for ideas, and they get trimmed down to about 4 or 5 minutes of a development in a melody and a structure in chords where I'm like, okay, this is clearly a verse and chorus. Now, sometimes if the lyrics are too personal or I feel like it would alienate the audience, I won't share that, but I'll keep it for me as a piece, because that is healing for me. But learning just personally the separation of what will help other people and what other people will connect to versus what is for me, I think that is integral for my own therapy, because I don't want people to worry about me, and I don't want it to just be this sad diary of when I'm feeling bad. It's more of how I got through it and what I learned from it. And it has the cathartic feeling that I felt when I was listening to music when I was a kid, where people are saying what I don't know how to say, but without it being depressing.
And so do you find yourself starting the writing process a lot just by sitting down with a guitar and just kind of singing and recording yourself and then
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll play whatever, like I play guitar or piano or keyboard usually to start, and then I'll find a chord progression that I like, and I'll just hum around. I'm more of a singer than a musician, and so I explore melodic ideas with very simple guitar structures so that there's more room to explore the vocal. So if I stick to 3 very simple chords, then there's more room for the melody to grow. So that's how I start. And then if it grows into something, then that's a chord, because then you can, I feel that, whereas the melody is becoming something. Like that, the melody usually happens first for me. And then the chord progression will grow maybe. But sometimes 3 chords just change on itself, and it's kind of deceptively simple, where I'll just hold on one chord longer, but let the melody expand the chord where it feels like I'm changing, but I'm not. But then, the lyrics usually come later. I'll work with the guitar and vague vocal idea, and I'll listen to that over a long period of time and work on lyrics that way.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
Thanks for being here. This is so cool.
Well, thank you for being here. It'd be weird if I came and be like,
kind of playing off of what he asked. I know that a lot of musicians that I know, and for my songwriting personally, I get inspired at really weird times. For for example, me driving. I'm driving and trying to focus on my safety, but then I get inspired by something and want to write something, so I'm accumulating things in my voice memos. And it's just such a simple activity, but really oddly inspires me at the same time. I was wondering if you had any activities like that that are day to day for you, but that still inspire you.
oh yeah, I'll be walking around. It was funny, I was actually just telling, I was telling Josh last night, I was there's one time, early on, where I had this idea, and my friend's oh, you should totally write that down. And I go out in my bag to write it down, and I don't have a notebook, and she punched me in the shoulder, and she's you're a writer! You need a notebook in your bag at all times. What are you doing? And so I always have a notebook. I always, I have voice memos, and I try to religiously put it into my computer so that, whenever I'm working, that I'll have references if I'm not feeling inspired. And then I also have, if I don't have time to go to the studio, I have a Zoom recorder. Have you used one of these before?
Yeah.
I love it. It's amazing. You can multi-track, and anyone can use it. You don't need a microphone. It's multi-directional, and you can record live shows with it pretty well too if you want to hear what you sound like. As far as being inspired, I'm a night owl. So when it's really quiet and I have my headphones on and I'm listening to other things, sometimes that sparks it. I like reading books of writers who I really like. I'm reading this Joan Didion book right now. It's her biography, or unauthorized biography, and reading about things that I care about, make me. I mean, it actually sometimes takes a long time for me to get through it because I keep putting the book down and I start writing because it's inspiring. And for Christmas, my mom gave me Post-it notes because I always have Post-its all over the place because I always have these little ideas. There's little ideas scattered all over my apartment, and I'm oh yeah, I forgot about that idea. I found it in my shoebox or something. But I think, you never know where inspiration comes from. It's, who knows where thoughts come from? They just appear. That's a Empire Records quote. But it's true. They come from everywhere.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hi, Sharon. Thanks
Hi.
again.
Yeah.
I have a local band down here, and we're just recording our first full-length album.
What is it called?
The band?
Yeah.
Wavada.
Wavada?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I guess what I want to know is like what the biggest obstacle was for you, and I guess as other artists want to know, or what's the most important step like you take after you're like finished, and like how you get all the publicity, or like I don't know what your experience was.
So when you're finished recording, like what do you think comes next? Kind of
guess,
thing?
or what was like the hardest thing that you had to go through to get everything situated, I guess.
Well, I guess just knowing what, it's kind of like finding a family, and so making sure that you know who to reach out to. I mean, that, for me, it kind of just, my relationships grew with people that I wanted to work with. So, and I lucked out, but I self-released my first couple, and most of the people that I released records with were people that I met along the way that I trusted, and I liked what they did. But the challenges for me were finding the right band, which sounds like you already have, and planning it out where you know that you need about 6 months after you release your record to really, let me paraphrase this. And again, things keep changing because people just announce the releases the day of now, and it's fine. And everybody will not fight you, but there's a debate on like what is important. But you reach out to a label personally, or you have somebody that will reach out for you. I mean, again, there's an argument there. I reached out to people myself, but other people say that having a manager to do that is better, to separate the artist and the business side at first, so you can be represented by someone that's not in the band. So if you have a manager to reach out to people that make sense with the kind of music that you do, but then also have a plan in place, make sure that you want to tour, make sure that if you need a publicist or you need a radio promoter, you make sure that you have everything in place and you're working with somebody that has a path for you, and knowing what you want yourself. Do you want to release it wide? Do you want to tour it? How big do you want to be? What's your dream act to open for? I mean, there's a lot of important things that you need to learn about yourself too when you release a record. You can't just be like, I have a record now, someone should just put it out and figure it out for me. If you know other things that you want to do, it's kind of important to almost have a resume of things that you already do and that you want to do, and that you have a group of people that want to help you figure it out.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think we got time for one more.
All right, my name's Adam. My birthday's next week also.
Pisces. Hi.
I just wanted to know if you had any interesting stories about overcoming some bad luck on the road, or unexpected situations.
Just try to play with people that you love. If you get stuck in a van on the side of the road with no food and no water and no service or something. Also, one really good thing to look up, you should write this down, rules of touring. And my friend Thor, who was in a band called Shearwater, he now plays with Swans. And he's an incredible, incredible drummer and percussionist, and a musician in his own right, and a poet and an illustrator. And I was tour managing my first tour, and it was Wyoke and Shearwater cross country. And I was a terrible tour manager too, I'll admit that. But during that tour, they started coming up with these rules of the road, And one of my favorite ones was, don't sit backstage in a janitor's closet and start questioning your life and your existence. This is your job. Everybody is bipolar on tour, So if you're, just be positive on the road. Respect the people that you're with if you can. I mean, some people are good at separating the artist from the person or whatever, and it depends on your stamina. But I need to be friends and respect the people that I'm with, because they are the ones that lift me up. Touring is tiring and exhausting and emotional, and especially the songs we're performing every night, it's draining. They're not fun all the time, most of the time. But it's cathartic, and we do something really beautiful, and I love my band. But there's times where you don't exercise, you eat trash. Not literally, but like you know, you have like, you tour in England, you're like, geez, I cannot eat any more beans, and like, it's like bread and beans. It's some, I mean, I love England, but like there's places like, you know, just truck stops, and you're on tour, you don't eat that good. And you have to exercise if you can, because that always helps you feel better. But sometimes it's like you get up at 7 in the morning after you didn't get to the hotel until 3 a.m. and you have a 10-hour drive and you have to play as soon as you get there. That is stressful 5 days a week. And you have to be healthy, and you have to like the people around you. Terrible things that we did. Well, I'll have a confessional. I had a show in England, I believe it was on Thanksgiving in Brighton, and I was missing home. I was having a hard time with my throat. I was getting over being sick. We had fish on Thanksgiving. But then, you know, and we're playing in a beautiful church, had a sold-out show. I mean, this should be where I'm feeling really great. And then I start singing when everybody's playing, and the whole entire show, I can't hear my vocal. And as a singer, that is stressful. And I kept looking over to Heather, like, because she always is my support system, you know, when I'm having a hard time, and there was nothing I could do about it. You just have to kind of plow through it. But I was like crying through the whole entire set. And I rarely do that. I mean, I get emotional about a song or something, but I've never had a show where I couldn't hear my vocal the whole time. And my band played great, but I was losing my shit like the whole entire show, and it affected everyone in the band. And we talked about it after the show, and it really hurt them, you know, because they were trying to plow through it too. You're playing in a church, and all this reverb is coming back. I mean, it's all reflecting to you. It's like you do the best you can. It's like if you don't try your hardest, you make other people's performance suffer. And, you know, they gave me shit, as they should, where I lost it. I'm the boss that they're looking to keep it together, and you have to deal with those situations and be a professional, and I was really unprofessional that day, and I'll never forget it, you know? Like, even when it's hard, you have to just do it, and you can't half-ass it just because you're uncomfortable. I learned that. That was really hard.
Well, Sharon, one last question I want to throw out to you. So, again, kind of given your journey, if you were the age of most of the people out here now, what would you say to yourself now? What would you say to yourself, given what you've gone through and what you've learned?
Just accept people's help if they're trying to help you, and be open. Be open to anything, and take chances, but not at the risk of not being yourself.
It's a great closing word. Everybody, please give a warm round of applause for Sharon Van Etten.
Thank you for coming, guys, and it's an honor to be here.
Thank you so much.
Nothing. your